What are the 7 personality traits of senior citizens who like solitude? And how do these traits lead to a longer and happier life? You may have been told that you are too independent or too silent at some point in your life. Nothing about you is peculiar or out of the ordinary. In point of fact, if you find that you are able to find solace in solitude as you get older, this could potentially be an indication of some of the most extraordinary strengths that a person can possess. It is a common misconception that people who prefer to be alone are merely reserved or reserved. But the reality is far more complex than that. There is a particular set of personality qualities that frequently manifest in elderly people who take pleasure in being alone. And once you have a better understanding of what these features are, you may be able to perceive your quiet nature in a whole different way. In the following video, we are going to discuss 7 distinct personality traits that are frequently observed in elderly people who enjoy spending time by themselves. The attributes in question are not unfavorable, an indication of emotional depth, knowledge, and strength. They are signs of strength. Many people never completely acquire these characteristics because they are continuously distracted by noise and the duties they have to their social circles. You may find yourself nodding your head and thinking, "That is exactly how I've always been," as you listen to what is being said. In addition, you will begin to recognize the quiet power that you possess, rather than pondering the reasons why you do not always fit into the social circles that are lively. Stay attentive. Regardless of whether you have always been the type of person who enjoys being by yourself or whether you have developed a preference for solitude over the course of your life, by the time you reach the conclusion of this film, you will not only have a better understanding of these characteristics, but you may also leave feeling more self-assured, more validated, and more connected to the person you have always been beneath the surface. I would like to extend an invitation to you to subscribe to our channel and activate the bell so that you will not miss any of the videos that we will be creating in the future that are specifically tailored to your interests. Let's get started. Deep thinkers are the first trait. Individuals who take pleasure in spending time by themselves frequently have minds that are never fully at rest. People who utilize isolation not to get away from life but to improve their understanding of it are folks who are deep thinkers. There are some seniors who take the time to contemplate, in contrast to those who may rush through days that are loaded with noise and stimulus. After the interactions have taken place, they process the information. However, rather than dwelling on the past, they revisit it in order to learn from it. Not only do they consider what things appear to be on the surface, but they also consider what they actually mean. Consider Leonard and Ralph, who are both 74 years old. There is seldom a moment when Leonard is not surrounded by people, clubs, meetings, or messages. Although he has a packed schedule, his ideas frequently only scratch the surface. The opposite is true for Ralph, who prefers to spend his mornings alone with a cup of tea and a notebook. In his writing, he discusses the things that he has learned, the things that are important to him, and the patterns that he observes in both people and the world. As opposed to Leonard, he does not speak as frequently, but when he does, the words that he says carry greater significance. One does not necessarily have to be distant in order to be considered a profound thinker because their thoughts have been carefully shaped in the stillness of thinking. It denotes having a densely populated inner world. Therefore, your mind is a location that you take pleasure in visiting. These are the individuals who are able to make sense of things that the majority of people fail to see, who ask why when others accept what they accept, and who connect the connections. This is not the kind of conversation that they are searching for. They are looking for significance in the discussions they have, the books they read, the experiences they have, and the passage of time. As a consequence of this, they frequently experience a sense of clarity as they mature. They are not deterred by quiet. They make advantage of it. They have faith in their own judgment. Thus, they do not require the approval of the rest of the world to justify their thinking. This kind of mental self-sufficiency is extremely uncommon, and it is one of the most obvious indications that a person who prefers to be alone could, in fact, have one of the most brilliant minds in the room. Trait 2. Emotionally independent: when a person reaches a stage in their life when they are able to feel genuinely comfortable to be by yourself. It is frequently a sign that there is something more profound than just a choice. This indicates that one is emotionally independent. It's not that seniors who enjoy being alone are trying to avoid connection. To put it simply, they are not reliant on it in order to feel complete. They have come to realize that the tranquility they experience is not contingent on who calls, who visits, or who pays them praise. Rather, it is constructed from the inside out. Let's take Martha and Irene, both of whom are 77. A check is made on Martha's phone, constantly looking forward to receiving communication from family members. A day that passes without a phone call is causing me to feel hurt. When other people are paying attention to her, her mood fluctuates up and down. Irene, on the other hand, starts her day with a nice stroll. Then she prepares a simple breakfast. And finally, she reads in the afternoon. She has a deep affection for her family, but she does not require frequent engagement in order to feel valued. Her cheerfulness is not dependent on the actions of other people. Similar to a well that is filled from the inside out, it is consistent. Strong emotional fortitude is not something that can be acquired immediately. The seasons of disappointment, loss, and progress are what shape it into what it is today. It frequently manifests itself in those who have been through difficult experiences in their lives, having to deal with widowhood, illness, and treachery, as well as discovering that they could still stand on their own even when others were not present with them. Despite the fact that it is not loud or flashy, this kind of resilience is extremely powerful. Seniors who are emotionally independent are able to maintain their composure in the face of physical separation. They have the understanding that love is not determined by the frequency with which someone comes, but rather by the quality of connection that occurs when it does occur. They do not respond excessively. They do not desperately want attention. They also do not take every quiet that they hear personally. Rather than that, they use that time toward developing themselves. It is a rest. Those who create small rituals are pleasant to them. They tend to their own cup refilling. Because they do not cling to other people, people frequently feel more drawn to them. This is an ironic observation. The tranquility that they exude becomes infectious. The presence of them is reassuring. Therefore, if you discover that you no longer require approval from others, you will be able to weather emotional storms and feel pleased and fulfilled. You are not overly reclusive by any stretch of the imagination. You have just developed into something that a lot of people spend their entire lives trying to achieve: emotional freedom. I would appreciate it if you could use the second comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. Observational skills are the third trait. It is common for people who love alone to see more than they claim to see. While others may be engaged in activities such as talking, planning, or rushing, seniors who are silent have a tendency to observe the nuances. The manner in which someone pauses before responding, the manner in which a bird arrives close to the window, or the way in which the sky looks different in the early morning. In their daily lives, they maintain a level of consciousness that is not always readily apparent, but it is definitely present. Consider Howard and Ben, who are both 70 years old. Despite the fact that Howard spends the majority of his days immersed in conversation and is perpetually in the center of things, he rarely remembers the details of the day. A person's attire, how they were feeling, and the things they chose not to say are all examples. Ben, on the other hand, prefers to spend his time by himself tending to his garden, reading, or simply relaxing on his porch. He does not speak very frequently, but when he does, he is quick to point out how the mood of a neighbor has changed or how the leaves have begun to turn early this year. An emptiness is created by his solitude. Please pay care. People with a high level of observation do not require constant stimulation. It is in the mundane that they discover depth. Some people are able to hear stories that others might overlook, such as a crack in the sidewalk, an image that has been forgotten, or the tone of someone's voice. Furthermore, this perception is derived from the space that stillness provides. Because there is no noise from the outside world, their senses remain acute. Because of this feature, they are beneficial in discrete and consistent ways. They are the ones who remember your favorite tea, who recognize the early warning signs of trouble before anybody else does, or who bring up something you said months ago because it was important to them. Because of this, they are able to see not just what is in front of them but also what is underneath. This kind of sensitivity is uncommon in a world that is always moving and yelling. And it is sometimes misconstrued because of this. Silence is sometimes misunderstood as a sign that someone is not paying attention. But in reality, it is frequently the reverse. They are paying more attention than anyone else in the room is doing at the moment. Consequently, if you discover that you are drawn to details, others will go over them. What you have is not only a personality quirk if you detect minor adjustments that most people overlook. If you feel more connected to the world when it is calm, and if you notice these minute shifts, it is a strength, one that has been steadily increasing in strength with each one of the moments of silence that you have chosen to experience. In terms of relationships, trait number 4 is selective. One of the most distinguishing characteristics of elderly people who take pleasure in spending time by themselves is that they are extremely choosy about the people they let into their inner circle. Neither do they make an effort to pursue acquaintances nor do they fill their schedules with unplanned get-togethers. In its place, they choose for depth rather than breadth. They would far prefer to have 2 significant discussions in a week as opposed to 20 superficial ones. Both Dorothy and Patricia are in their early 80s, so let's take a peek at them. Dorothy is always in the company of other people, and she never hesitates to accept invitations to social gatherings and group activities. However, she frequently finds herself feeling exhausted and overlooked as a result of the activities. Patricia, on the other hand, spends the majority of her time by herself, and she only consults with 2 trusted friends who have known her for a very long time. They discuss about things that are real, such as life, meaning, and even worries. In addition, she emerges from those interactions feeling more satisfied, rather than less satisfied. It is not the same thing as being unfriendly to be selective. It's about being aware that your energy is valuable, and you don't want to squander it on relationships that do not feel like they are mutually beneficial or shallow. Many of these folks have lived long enough to understand what it is like to be surrounded by people and still have feelings of isolation. This is the reason why people are more selective now. They have realized that peace is preferable to a bond that is imposed on them. Emotional maturity is also shown in this characteristic. They are not seeking popularity or attempting to win the approval of everyone by any means. They have no problem using the word no. They have developed a sense of appreciation for their time, their space, and their energy, and they spend it as if it were prized possessions. In most cases, the individuals who are allowed to enter are those who are aware of them, appreciate them, and are able to share meaningful space with them. It's not uncommon for people like this to have 1 or 2 friends who have been with them for their whole lives, a sibling whom they continue to communicate with on a regular basis, or even a neighbor with whom they have discreetly developed a relationship over the course of many years through a series of tiny acts of kindness. They are not going to indulge in drama, gossip, or performance, nor are they going to pretend just to keep company. Neither are they going to pretend to keep company. If you find that you are withdrawing from large groups and finding that you are more drawn to peaceful connection than to hectic gatherings, this does not necessarily indicate that you are in the process of becoming isolated. It indicates that you are getting more deliberate. Additionally, one of the most powerful indicators of self-respect is the presence of purpose in one's relationships. I would appreciate it if you could use the 4th comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. Having a creative attitude is the fifth trait. When it comes to creation, solitude and creativity frequently go hand in hand. There is something profoundly beautiful about this relationship. People who are in their senior years and love spending time by themselves are often the ones who write poems in the morning or doodle in notebooks. They never bother recording those tunes, so no one else hears them or hums them. The audience is not necessary for their creative endeavors. It flourishes when there is no sound. Consider Henry and Wallace, both of whom are 79 years old. Henry is constantly in need of background noise because he spends his days doing errands, talking about sports, and watching television. However, Wallace is known to spend extended periods of time at his workbench, where he constructs miniature wooden birds. He does not show them to anyone very often. Applause is not the point here. It refers to the procedure. As a result of his quiet concentration and the act of creation, he has a purpose. It establishes a connection between him and something that is more significant than himself. You don't have to be a painter or a novelist just because you have a certain amount of creative potential. It indicates that you have a mind that is capable of playing, that rearranges ideas, that discovers beauty in patterns, and that transforms introspection into a form of expression. This may manifest itself in the manner in which you rearrange your home, how you prepare a meal, or how you organize your garden. A round of applause is not required for the creative spark. It is only lacking space. Moreover, senior citizens who want seclusion frequently do so because they believe that is where the spark resides. They hear songs when there is no one else there to talk to. Words are pieces that are pieced together in the stillness of the dawn. As a ray of sunlight travels across the floor, they experience a surge of inspiration. Their creative endeavors are deeply personal, intimate, and frequently revered. Characteristics of this kind are extremely nutritious to the individual. It helps prevent cognitive deterioration. It brings emotional release, and it provides purpose to days that would otherwise feel too still. When the world slows down, creative people accelerate up within. They compose letters, create model railroads, knit scarves for neighbors, or craft stories in their thoughts they may never reveal aloud. And while others might regard them as loners, what they don't see is the rich, textured world emerging behind their eyes. It's not isolation. Imagination is the key. It is the capacity to take something simple and transform it into something beautiful. Not for the praise of other people but because the act itself feels right. If you have experienced this, if you find pleasure in creating, constructing, writing, or simply fantasizing, particularly when you are alone yourself, then you should be aware that this is not a seemingly insignificant thing. This is an indication of profound life, a personality that is tuned to the music that lies behind the noise. Furthermore, it is one of the most quietly powerful characteristics that a person can possess. Strong self-discipline is the sixth characteristic. Strong self-discipline is another characteristic that frequently appears in elderly people who want to spend their time alone. The people who fall into this category are those who do not require the assistance of another person in order to know when they should get up, when they should take their medication, or how to continue with their routines. Something within them, a calm rhythm that they have developed over the course of time, serves as their compass. Let's take George and Harold. They are both 82 years old. George does best when he is in a group situation. He is a member of every senior class, relies on group reminders to look after himself, and experiences a sense of disorientation when there is no external structure. On the other hand, Harold follows the same routine every day and starts his mornings at the same time. After making his bed, he performs some light stretching and then prepares a straightforward breakfast that is nourishing. There is no one watching. No one is giving him a grade, because it is in harmony with who he is and because it brings him peace. he engages in this activity, there is no chance that this kind of internal consistency would occur. Learning how to keep promises to yourself over the course of a lifetime, even when no one else is present, is the starting point for this ability. When life becomes unpredictable, it is because of this that these elderly people are able to maintain their composure and sense of reality. They do not disintegrate when confronted with adversity, whether it be a new diagnosis, a difficult situation in the family, or a shift in their routine. They are able to adapt. They rely on their routines, their principles, and their unassuming structure, and the discipline that they maintain is frequently unnoticed by those around them. Nothing about it is loud or dramatic. The way that they remember to water their plants, the way that they write down their grocery lists, and the way that they monitor their blood pressure without being told to do so are all elements that contribute to this. They do not anticipate that others will shoulder their burden. They have acquired the ability to successfully carry it on their own with poise and composure. In addition, this self-discipline brings forth a more profound sort of freedom. You won't need to rely on other people to keep you going when you have faith in your own ability to carry out the tasks at hand. In spite of the fact that it is a modest and uncomplicated living, you become the architect of your own life. That sense of ownership builds confidence, and that confidence spills over into everything else. How you walk, how you speak, and how you face each new day. So if you found that you can stick to routines without being told, that you hold yourself to a certain standard, even when no one's watching, then recognize that for what it is. It's not rigidity, it's self-respect, and it's one of the clearest markers of a strong, quiet character. I would appreciate it if you could use the 6th comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. Trait 7. Spiritually grounded. There's a kind of tranquility that comes over those who no longer need the world to keep them company. Seniors who love isolation frequently carry this peaceful tranquility, not because they've given up on connection, but because they've formed a profound connection within. They are spiritually anchored. Take Eleanor and June, both 84, not because she is watching, but because she despises being left in silence. Eleanor keeps her television on throughout the entire day. The absence of sound makes her uncomfortable, and she is unclear of how to respond to silence. On the other hand, June is a fan of that silence. She is seated near the window, her hands comfortably resting on her lap as she does everything. She does not pray in the conventional sense, rather, she engages in introspection. Questions are posed to her by herself. She contemplates the past, the future, and the possibilities that lie beyond both of these horizons. One does not necessarily have to adhere to a particular religion in order to be spiritually grounded. If you have discovered a method to connect with something more profound, whether it be nature, faith, memory, or meaning itself, this indicates that you have succeeded. The realization that life is not just about what you do but also about how you carry it out has started to dawn on you. People who have experienced both happiness and sadness are more likely to exhibit this characteristic. They've experienced love and loss, success and failure, and at some point in their lives, they've reached a point when they no longer require all the answers. The calm spirituality that they developed became a source of strength for them. And they got comfortable with the unknown, with waiting, and with the realization that not everything needs to be fixed or explained. They maintain their composure even when others are in a state of fear. They pay attention to the complaints of others. However, when things get difficult in their lives, they turn inward, not to get away but to find stability. Over time, they have developed a relationship with the silence, and it is in that silence that they have discovered peace. These are the kinds of people who are not easily shaken. Neither do they seek out distractions nor do they beg for clarification. In doing so, They become anchors for others, remaining calm in times of crisis, steady in storms, and gentle when the world seems to be harsh. They sit with what is, and in doing so, they become anchors. You possess one of the most powerful characteristics that a person can develop with age: spiritual depth. A kind of rootedness that no noise, no loss, and no change can take away from you. If you find that solitude rather than fear brings you comfort, if you have learned to feel something sacred in the quiet moments of life, then you carry one of the most powerful traits that a person can develop. Lastly, some thoughts. Having been exposed to these 7 distinct characteristics, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, how many of these characteristics do you recognize in yourself? Do you find that stillness brings you peace? Would you rather have fewer, more meaningful relationships when you are by yourself? Do you get a greater sense of connection than when you are in a group? If this is the case, you are not merely someone who prefers being alone. You are someone who has developed into your wisdom. Someone who has molded a life that is filled with intentionality, introspection, and comprehension. As you have seen today, being alone is not necessarily a symptom of isolation for many elderly people. Despite the fact that society frequently portrays solitude as something that should be feared or fixed, this is an indication of progress. It's the result of years of living, learning, and letting go of things that don't matter. It's not about avoiding the world. It's about choosing your own pace, your own company, and your own peace. And these traits, deep thinking, emotional independence, sharp observation, selective relationships, creative flow, disciplined habits, and spiritual grounding, they don't just appear overnight. They're earned. They're the quiet rewards of a life lived with intention. So if you've ever worried whether your fondness for isolation is something to be concerned about, let this reassure you. You're not withdrawing from life. You're connecting to it on a different level. You're not less social. You're more choosy. And that means the folks who do know you, really know you, see something special. Let this be a reminder that your calm disposition is not a weakness. It's a strength. And in a society that rarely stops talking, your silence may be the precise thing that speaks the loudest. We appreciate you being here with us today. It would be wonderful if you could get in touch with us. Please leave a comment below and tell us about one item you discovered today and how you intend to put it to use in your life right now. We place a high value on your opinions, so please do not be reluctant to share them with us. Our inspiration and encouragement are greatly increased as a result of reading your remarks. I would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it to be informative and enjoyable. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. We appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we hope to see you in the future video.